My mother stole my father's last dream, and I only learned the truth when he held my hand in that hospital room. Tears streaming down his weathered cheeks. I'm Sarah Davis, 27 from Portland, Oregon, a city where oak-lined streets and the warm scent of coffee from Hawthorne's cozy shops paint a picture of quiet charm. But my story isn't about charm. It's about a family that looked whole on the outside, but was cracked beneath the surface. It's about the love I have for my father and the heartbreak of my mother's betrayal. If you're reading this, I hope you'll share a moment from your own family in the comments, a hurt, a healing, or just a small memory. This could be anyone's story, anyone who's fought to keep family love alive. Let's begin. I grew up in a red brick house on the edge of Portland, where azaleas bloomed every spring and sparrows chirped on the roof. From the outside, we were the perfect family, 2 parents, 2 kids, and a golden retriever named Rusty. But inside, things were never so simple. My father, William Davis, was a retired construction engineer with a smile like autumn sunlight. He taught me to tie my shoes at 5, cheered me on through rain-soaked basketball games, and slipped notes into my lunchbox. Sarah, you're my star. Those scraps of paper, sometimes just a line like, "You've got this today," were the thread that tied me to him, even when I felt lost in my own family. My mother, Linda Davis, was an accountant who ran our lives with cold precision. From the family budget to our Christmas party outfits, she controlled everything like a general. To me, she was always distant, as if I were an extra piece in her perfect puzzle. Her praise was rare, and when I accomplished something like landing the lead in my high school play, she'd nod and say, "Good job. Sarah, don't let it go to your head." Meanwhile, my brother Ethan, 32, was her golden boy, a software engineer in Seattle. He'd led his high school football team to a state championship and never seemed to disappoint her. "Why can't you be more like Ethan?" was a refrain I heard from childhood, each word a small cut to my confidence. We weren't without good times. I remember Sunday nights eating pizza on the couch, watching The Sandlot with Dad while Mom and Ethan played chess at the kitchen table. I remember camping trips to Crater Lake, where Dad spun stories about the stars and showed me how to build a fire. But as I grew older, the gap between me and Mom widened, like a crack in glass that couldn't be mended. Ethan, without meaning to, became the yardstick she measured me against. When I graduated from the University of Oregon with a communications degree and landed a job at a small ad agency in Portland, Mom just said, "Oh, really, Ethan just got promoted at that tech firm." My victories never seemed to matter. I moved to a tiny apartment near Portland's Pearl District, where dive bars and art galleries hum with life. My job writing ad campaigns for local brands wasn't glamorous, but I loved it. I was proud when I secured a contract with a craft brewery. But when I told Mom, she nodded and pivoted to Ethan's new condo with a view of Puget Sound. In those moments, I just wanted to run to Dad, who always listened and said, "Sarah, you're making me proud." Everything changed in October 2023 when Dad was diagnosed with stage 3 pancreatic cancer. I was at the office, tweaking an ad, when Mom called. "Sarah, you should come home," she said, her voice flat but heavy. I raced over, heart pounding, and found Dad in the living room, thinner than I'd ever seen, his eyes sunken. "I'm okay, kiddo," he said, forcing a smile. But I knew he wasn't. The doctor said he needed chemo immediately, and while the prognosis wasn't hopeless, his time was measured in years, not decades. The news hit like a fist to the chest. "Dad, who ran marathons at 50, who could fix anything in the house, was facing an enemy he couldn't fight with grit or will. I took a month's leave, moved back into my parents' house, and threw myself into caring for him. I made pumpkin soup, drove him to appointments, and sat by his side, reading the paper or chatting about my ad campaigns. He listened, even when he was exhausted, and squeezed my hand. "You're my best medicine." Sarah, Mom, though, grew sharp and irritable. "You don't need to be here all the time," she snapped, as if my presence disrupted her order. I ignored her, focusing on Dad. As I watched him weaken, I made a quiet vow to do something special for his 61st birthday in June 2024, a moment of joy in the storm of his illness. I didn't know it would spark a journey of both heartbreak and meaning. Dad wasn't one for grand dreams. He loved simple things, a strong cup of black coffee, an afternoon fishing on the Columbia River, a perfectly grilled steak. But one winter evening, as we watched Chopped on Food Network, he pointed at the screen where a chef was preparing grilled salmon at the Herb Farm, a fancy restaurant in Woodinville, about 3 hours from Portland. "Sarah," he said, his eyes bright like a kid's, "someday. I want to eat there, just once, to see what it's like." I teased him, "Dad, you'd probably spill the wine in a place like that." But the longing in his eyes, a hunger for something he'd never had, stayed with me. I decided to make that dream come true for his 61st birthday. The Herb Farm was known for its 9-course menu, crafted with local ingredients like wild mushrooms and Columbia River salmon. It wasn't cheap, about $300 per person, not counting wine or travel. For the 4 of us, Dad, Mom, Ethan, and me, plus a bottle of Dad's favorite Oregon Pinot Noir, I figured I'd need $1,800. As an ad writer earning $50,000 a year, that was a stretch. But I didn't hesitate. I started side hustles right after Dad's diagnosis. By day, I wrote Instagram posts for local breweries and coffee shops. At night, I freelanced for travel websites, earning $50 to $100 per article. Those late nights, with the laptop's glow stinging my eyes, were grueling. But every submission brought me closer to Dad's dream. On weekends, I bartended at the Rusty Nail, a bar in the Pearl District. The smell of beer, the hum of indie music, and tipsy patrons became my world. I learned to mix martinis, smiled at bad jokes, and tucked my tips into a jar labeled Dad's Birthday Fund. To save money, I cut back hard. No new clothes, no Netflix, just ramen or rice and beans at home. I sold an old armchair on eBay for $75 and a favorite dress for $30. Every dollar went into a savings account. Watching the balance climb $200, $500, $1,000 lit a spark of hope. I was doing this for Dad. I tracked my plans in a small blue notebook I called 10 Things for Dad. Beyond the Herb Farm dinner, I listed other dreams, taking him to a Seattle Mariners game, fishing on the Columbia, watching Field of Dreams with a bowl of popcorn. The notebook became a love letter, each line a promise. I planned every detail: a table for 4 on a Saturday night, salmon for Dad, a bottle of Pinot Noir. I pictured him in his old wedding suit, smiling over his plate. Our family gathered in candlelight. I kept it a secret, sharing only with my best friend, Mia, over coffee at Stumptown. "Sarah, he's going to lose it in a good way," she said, squeezing my hand. "He's lucky to have you." I smiled, but worry gnawed at me. Mom controlled every family event, from Christmas to 4th of July barbecues. If she found out, she might shut it down, like she'd dismissed so many of my ideas. "Your mom won't get it," Mia said, reading my mind. "But this is for your dad." Not her. By May 2024, I'd saved $1,900, enough for the dinner, travel, and a little cushion. I called the herb farm and spoke to a manager named Claire. "It's a gift for my dad," I said, my voice shaky. "He's sick, and I want this birthday to be special." Claire promised a table with a view of the herb garden. When I hung up, I cried not from sadness, but because Dad's dream was coming true. But I never imagined Mom would shatter it. It all unraveled one Saturday morning in early June. I'd left my blue notebook on the kitchen table after a late shift at the Rusty Nail, too tired to tuck it away. I'd scribbled one last note: order the Oregon Pinot Noir, Dad's favorite from last year's winery. When I arrived at my parents' house to visit Dad, Mom greeted me with a look like a gathering storm. "Sarah, come to the living room," she said, her voice sharp. In her hand was my notebook, open to the birthday plan. "What is this?" she asked, her tone accusing. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "Mom, I'm planning something special for Dad's birthday. He's always wanted to eat at the herb farm. I've been working extra jobs for a year to save $900. I told her about the late-night writing, the bar shifts, the clothes I sold. I hoped she'd see, even a little, how much this meant to me for Dad. But she cut me off, her voice like a blade. "You think now's the time to waste money? Your father needs surgery. We need every penny to save him, and you're planning some extravagant dinner?" I was stunned, unable to believe my ears. "Mom, this is my money," I said, my voice trembling. "I just want Dad to be happy. He deserves it, especially now." But she wouldn't listen. She stood, glaring at me like I was a traitor. "You don't understand what this family's going through. Your father doesn't need frivolous things. I'm throwing a birthday party at home, with family. You're not welcome, Sarah. You don't belong in this plan." Her words pierced my heart. "Not welcome," I echoed, my voice breaking, tears welling. "What are you saying? It's Dad's birthday." She stared at me, unyielding. "You chose to go your own way, against the family. If you don't give me that money for hospital bills, you don't deserve to be there." I stood frozen, the world crumbling around me. My mother, who gave me life, had just declared me an outsider in my own family. I left, tears streaming down my face. In my car, I called Ethan, hoping he'd take my side. "Sarah, just listen to Mom," he said, his voice detached, like this was a minor spat. "Don't make things harder. She's doing what's best for Dad." I hung up, feeling utterly alone. That night, in my tiny apartment, neon light from the Pearl District flickering through my window. I stared at the $900 in my savings. What if Mom was right? What if Dad needed that money for surgery? But deep down, I sensed she was manipulating me, using Dad's illness as a weapon. After a sleepless night, I called the herb farm to cancel. Claire's voice was kind. "Are you sure, Sarah? We've set up a special table for your family." I swallowed my tears and said, "I'm sure." The word felt like a goodbye to Dad's dream. I transferred the $900 to the family account, texting Mom, "This is for Dad. Take care of him." Then I turned off my phone, unwilling to hear from her or Ethan. The days that followed were a blur. I went to work like a ghost, avoiding Mia because I couldn't bear to relive the pain. At night, I dreamed of Dad at the herb farm, smiling over a plate of salmon, only to wake and realize the dream was gone. Had I been wrong to want to make him happy? Was Mom right to call me selfish? I opened my notebook, reading lines like, "Take Dad fishing and watch Field of Dreams," and wept. The notebook was now just a reminder of my failure. I stopped visiting my parents' house, dreading Mom's face. But when I called, Dad was still cheerful, asking about my job as if nothing had changed. "I miss you, Sarah," he said, his voice faint but warm. I wanted to tell him everything, but couldn't break his heart. I told myself, as long as Dad's okay, nothing else matters. But part of me was slipping away. A week before Dad's birthday, Ethan texted Dad's party is at home, 6 p.m., Saturday. Mom says you don't need to come, but Dad wants you there. I read it over and over, my heart racing. Dad wanted me. But Mom's words, "You don't deserve to be there," echoed. I texted back, "Tell Mom I won't come. I don't want trouble." Ethan didn't reply, and a hollow ache grew inside me. Instead, I decided to give Dad a small gift, a framed photo of us at Crater Lake when I was 10, both of us grinning by the turquoise water. I wrote a card. "Dad, I love you. Happy birthday." I asked Mia to deliver it, too afraid to go myself. "You sure, Sarah?" she asked, concerned. "I can't face Mom," I said, my voice hoarse. Mia hugged me, and I knew she understood. I thought that was the end of the birthday plan, but I didn't know the truth more painful than Mom's words was about to come to light. 3 days before Dad's birthday, my phone rang at 6 a.m. It was the hospital Dad had been admitted after sudden pain, and he wanted me. I rushed over, terrified this was the last time I'd see him. In his room, he lay frail, IV lines in his arm, but when he saw me, he smiled, weak but radiant. "Sarah, my girl," he said, taking my hand. I fought tears, asking how he felt, but he shook his head, his eyes heavy with sorrow. "Sarah, Ethan told me everything about the birthday plan, the money you saved, and what your mother did." I froze. "What did Ethan say?" Dad sighed, his voice trembling. "Your mom told me you didn't want to come to my party, that you were too busy with work. But Ethan found your notebook in the trash. I read it, Sarah, and I can't believe what she did to you." Tears rolled down his cheeks, and my heart shattered. "Dad, I just wanted to make you happy," I said, choking up. "I worked a whole year to take you to the herb farm, to give you one perfect day." He pulled me close, his shoulders shaking. "You're the best thing in my life," he said. "I'm so sorry I let her hurt you." The truth was worse than I'd imagined. Mom hadn't just banned me from the party. She'd taken the $900 I sent not for hospital bills, but to throw a lavish party at home, inviting relatives and neighbors to save face. Dad's surgery, though necessary, was mostly covered by insurance, and the family wasn't strapped for cash. Mom had used Dad's illness to guilt me, making me believe I was selfish for holding on to my savings. Ethan, while cleaning, found my notebook in the trash. Mom had thrown it out, thinking I'd never know. He showed it to Dad, and when Dad read my handwritten plans, take Dad fishing, order his favorite wine, he wept. Not just from love, but from anger at Mom. "I can't believe Linda did this," he said, his voice heavy. "You did everything for me, and she..." Dad insisted on a family meeting in his hospital room, despite his condition. In that small space, with the beep of machines, Ethan, Mom, and I sat around his bed. Dad looked at Mom, his voice firm but pained. "Linda, I want the truth. Why did you do this to Sarah? To our family?" Mom tried to justify herself at first. "I was protecting us," she said, her voice stiff. "Sarah was wasting money when we needed it for your care. I didn't want you to worry." But Ethan interrupted. "Mom, you threw out her notebook. You lied, saying she didn't want to come to the party." You took her money for what, a party to impress the neighbors? Mom paled, speechless. Dad looked at her, his eyes full of disappointment. Linda, you hurt our girl. You hurt us all. Finally. Mom broke, tears streaming down her face, the first time I'd seen her so vulnerable. I was jealous, she admitted, her voice shaking. Will, you've always loved Sarah more. From the moment she was born, I felt like I wasn't enough for you. I wanted the party to show everyone I'm the one holding this family together. Her confession stunned me. I'd never imagined she felt that way. Despite my anger, a sliver of pity crept in, but the hurt remained, raw and sharp. Mom, I said, steady but firm, you may have felt insecure, but that didn't give you the right to steal my love for Dad or lie to push me out of this family. Ethan took Mom's hand, his voice gentle but serious. Mom, we messed up. Sarah didn't deserve this. Dad, though frail, looked at us all. I want this family back together, but only if we're honest. Linda, you need to make this right. Mom nodded, tears falling. I'll start therapy, she said softly. I know I was wrong. I'll try. Will, Sarah. It wasn't a perfect apology, but it was a start. Mom began therapy twice a week with a counselor in downtown Portland, working through the jealousy and insecurity that had driven her for years. Dad, after leaving the hospital, moved to a small apartment near the medical center, giving them both space to reflect. Ethan and I started talking more real conversations about childhood, family, and misunderstandings. He apologized for not seeing Mom's manipulation sooner. I always thought Mom knew best, he said over coffee. I was wrong. Sarah, in July, when Dad was strong enough to travel, I rebooked the herb farm. This time, I didn't hide it. I invited Ethan and Mom, hoping it could be a step toward healing. That night, Dad wore his old suit, a little tight but still dashing. Mom wore a simple green dress. The first time I'd seen her not trying to be perfect. Ethan, ever the icebreaker, teased Dad about his table manners. This isn't a burger joint, Dad. The meal lasted 3 hours. 9 courses, velvety pumpkin soup, herb-crusted salmon, a molten chocolate dessert with vanilla cream. The Oregon Pinot Noir gleamed in the candlelight, and Dad sipped it, grinning like a kid. When the main course arrived, he squeezed my hand under the table. Sarah, you gave me something I never dared dream of, he said, his eyes shining. Mom, across the table, looked at me with something new, not judgment, but gratitude. Sarah, she said quietly, I'm sorry, and I'm proud of you. Her apology didn't erase the pain, the scar of her words. You don't deserve to be there lingers, and I know our relationship will take time to mend. But it was a step, a moment where we chose truth over lies, love over resentment. Ethan raised a glass to Dad's health, and for the first time, I felt our family was truly present. Imperfect, but real. A year later, for Dad's 62nd birthday, we didn't go to a fancy restaurant. We gathered at my parents' house, eating homemade pizza on paper plates and watching Field of Dreams on TV. Dad, still fighting his illness, looked happier than ever, sandwiched between me and Ethan, laughing when Kevin Costner built that baseball field. Mom, now more open, shared about her therapy, how she's learning to let go of control. As I got up to leave, she hugged me, a real hug, not forced. Thank you, Sarah, she said, and I knew she meant more than the pizza. Ethan and I text weekly now, not just about family, but little things, a new Lumineers song, a Netflix movie, a cool cafe in Seattle. He's becoming the brother I thought I'd lost. But our story isn't over. A family isn't a picture painted once and done. It's a road full of bends and potholes where you keep walking, even when you stumble. I still wonder if Mom and I will ever truly understand each other. Will Dad have time to see all I want to share with him: a fishing trip, a baseball game, another night with Field of Dreams family love, tested by betrayal? Can find its way back if you don't give up. But the journey's never easy, and I'm still learning to walk that road. If this story touched you, I'd love to hear yours. Have you had a family moment that broke your heart but led you somewhere better? Share it in the comments. It doesn't have to be grand, just true. And if you know someone who needs this story, pass it on. Thank you for walking this path with me. Your journey, wherever you are, deserves to be told. Looking back on my journey, on the pain of my mother's betrayal, the warmth of my father's hand in that hospital room, and the slow, imperfect healing of our family, I see lessons that have rooted themselves deep in my heart. These aren't just my lessons. They're truths for anyone who's ever loved a family through its cracks, fought for connection despite hurt, or wondered if love could survive betrayal. If you're reading this, especially if you've lived long enough to carry your own scars, I hope these insights resonate and offer a path forward. Here's what I've learned and how we can carry these truths into our lives. 1. Love doesn't always protect you, but it's worth the risk. I poured my heart into saving for Dad's dream dinner at the herb farm, believing love would shield me from rejection. But Mom's words, "You don't deserve to be there," proved that love can leave you vulnerable. It hurt, like a quilt lovingly stitched only to be tossed aside. Yet, seeing Dad smile at that dinner, feeling his gratitude, showed me that love, even when it wounds, is worth the gamble. Application. Don't let fear of rejection stop you from loving deeply. If you're estranged from a child, sibling, or spouse, take a small step, write a letter, make a call, or share a memory. It might not be reciprocated, but the act of loving keeps your heart open. For example, set aside 10 minutes this week to reach out to someone you've drifted from, not expecting a response, but offering a piece of yourself. Love's risk is its strength. 2. Forgiveness is a process, not a moment. When Mom admitted her jealousy in that hospital room, I wanted to forgive her instantly, to erase the pain. But her words lingered, a scar that ached when I saw her. Forgiveness wasn't a single tearful hug. It was months of her therapy, small apologies, and my choice to let go. Bit by bit, it's still unfolding, like a road you walk one step at a time. Application. If someone's hurt you, a child who dismissed your sacrifices, a partner who betrayed your trust, start forgiveness with small acts. Write down what they did, then list one thing you still value about them. This doesn't erase the hurt, but softens it. Try meeting them halfway, like inviting them for coffee instead of a heavy confrontation. Forgiveness is a gift you give yourself, freeing you to move forward. Schedule one small gesture of reconciliation this month, even if it's just a kind word. 3. Honesty heals, even when it hurts. Mom's lie about my absence at Dad's party nearly broke us. But Ethan's courage in showing Dad my notebook and Dad's insistence on that hospital meeting forced the truth into the open. It was messy tears, accusations, confessions, but it was the start of rebuilding. Lies fester. Truth, even painful truth, is the only way to mend what's broken. Application. Be brave enough to speak your truth, especially in family conflicts. If a misunderstanding festers, call a meeting or write a letter laying out your feelings without blame. For example, if a sibling assumes you don't care, share a memory that shows you do. Use "I feel" statements to avoid defensiveness. This week, identify one unspoken truth in your family and share it gently, perhaps over a shared meal. Truth builds trust, even if it stings at first. 4. Small gestures carry immense weight. My grand plan for the herb farm was born of love, but it was the small things, Dad's lunchbox notes, the framed Crater Lake photo, our pizza nights that held us together when the big dream fell apart. Those quiet moments reminded me that love lives in the everyday, not just the extraordinary. Application. Focus on small, consistent acts of love. Leave a note for your spouse. Call your grandchild to ask about their day, or cook a favorite meal for a friend. These gestures build a foundation that withstands storms. This week, commit to one small act. Daily text a kind word, share a photo, or listen without interrupting. Over time, these moments become the glue of your relationships. 5. Sacrifice can be invisible, but it's never wasted. I worked nights, sold my things, and ate ramen to save for Dad's dinner, only for Mom to dismiss it as selfish. It felt like my sacrifice was invisible, a seed buried in barren soil. But Dad's tears when he read my notebook showed me that true sacrifice, even unseen, plants roots that eventually bloom. Application. Trust that your efforts for others matter, even if unacknowledged. If you've cared for aging parents or supported a struggling child without thanks, keep going. Document your efforts in a journal to remind yourself of your love's impact. Share one story of your sacrifice with a trusted friend, not for praise, but to affirm its worth. This month, do one unseen act of kindness, like paying for a stranger's coffee, knowing its value lies in the giving. 6. Families are roads, not destinations. I used to think family was a fixed picture, either whole or broken. But our journey, from Mom's betrayal to that pizza night watching Field of Dreams, taught me that family is a road, full of potholes and unexpected turns. We're still walking it, learning to love through flaws and failures. Application. Embrace your family's imperfections as part of the journey. Instead of expecting a perfect reunion, aim for progress. Plan a low-pressure gathering, like a picnic or movie night, where everyone can be themselves. If tensions arise, focus on one shared moment, a laugh, a story that keeps you moving forward. This year, set a goal to create one new family tradition, however small, to strengthen your path together. 7. Resilience grows in the quiet moments. After Mom took my savings, I felt defeated, a shadow moving through my days. But sitting with Dad, reading to him, or laughing over his bad jokes rebuilt my strength. Resilience wasn't a loud victory. It was the quiet choice to keep showing up, to love despite the ache. Application. Build resilience by finding joy in small routines. If you're grieving a family rift or personal loss, create daily anchors, walk in the park, listen to music, or call a friend. These moments recharge you for the long haul. This week, pick one activity that lifts your spirit and do it daily, even for 10 minutes. Resilience is the courage to keep going, one quiet step at a time. 8. You can't control others, only your response. Mom's jealousy drove her to hurt me, and I couldn't change her heart. But I could choose to save for Dad's dream, to confront her in that hospital room, to invite her to the herb farm. My choices shaped our healing, even when her actions tore us apart. Application. Focus on what you can control: your words, actions, and attitude. If a family member's behavior frustrates you, decide how you'll respond with dignity. For example, if a child ignores your advice, share your love instead of arguing. Write down one situation you can't change and one action you can take to respond with grace. This month, practice letting go of others' choices and owning your own. These lessons, carved from pain and love, are my guideposts. They remind me that family is worth fighting for, not with anger, but with honesty, small gestures, and the courage to keep walking. If you're carrying your own family's weight, its joys, its wounds, I hope you find one lesson here to hold on to. Try one application this week, whether it's a kind word or a truthful conversation. Your family's road is yours to travel, and every step, no matter how small, counts.